All right, I'm back. I had to take my kingpins off and apart. I did lose a clip that shot into outer space, into the depths of where I don't know. Anyway, I had to repolish uh, my kingpin so it moves very freely inside, you see. And so now I am going to, I did that to both the pins. You can see how freely they move now. I think that's kind of important for the car itself. That's not in the directions or anything like that, but I just I think that that would be good if you polished them up so they move very freely, right? So I'm going to go back to the building of these pins. All right, so there's an E-clip that goes onto the bottom of it, and then two washers. All right, so here's the one clip. All right, kind of started it there. I'm gonna grab my little needle nose pliers and clip it on. Well, I just lost it. Hmm. All right. That went on nice and easy. It rotates easy. We'll do that to the next pin. So what I did to polish these up, that clip's on there good. So what I did was I took some sandpaper 400 wet and dry, and I soaked it down, put the shafts in a drill just onto the very end, and polished them up with that. And so with that, they do get hot, so you have to, kind of watch out there. So I'm going to put our springs on the bottom. All right, now I believe they go through the arm, and then two washers. Two. Right. So I'm just going to set that one to the side. Do the same to this one. Right. So I got two of my washers on there. And now I'm going to put my arm on there. Now I'm going to put two more washers. And now the top of the arm. And another E-clip. And somehow I misplaced the washer and all of that. Oh, there it is. No, that came off the top of this one. Oh, before I put it in, look what it did. Don't have the arm sitting properly. I'm going to take this apart just to make sure I have the proper washers on there. 1, 2, yep. Now this one goes on with 2 washers. All right. Now the top of the arm and a washer. And now an E-clip. All right, pre-started it and now it fell off. We'll try it again. Patience. All right, you heard it clip on and it spins nice and freely. This moves freely. If I move my arm up, it, it moves freely as well. You can see the arm, you know. I'm sure there will be a little bit of breaking in as well. So, the next one, oh, look at that. I have 3 washers on it and I only need 2. So good thing I double check that. All right, so there's 1 washer on there. I put my second washer on. I put my arm on. Which way does it face? So if this one goes on the inside, this goes to the outside. 2 washers. And now my pivot ball. And a washer to the top. And my last E-clip that I have saved. Good thing there's extra that came with the kit. Right, got it kind of started there. I'm going to try to use the pliers to clip it on. Here to clip on. It spins nice and freely without it coming off. I check my arm, moves butter smooth. So if I move my arm up and down, it stays in place. Could be a little bit more free. It's still pretty smooth. It could use maybe a touch more. We'll see what happens here, and I'll put some lube onto the kingpin, and we'll go from there. All right. Our next step is to attach these to the chassis. So we'll cut these out. These are the spacers for the bottom of it. And so each hole has a different length, and it doesn't say which hole to use to line it up. So if I go through here and look, I bet that's going to be the shorter wheelbase versus this is going to be the longer wheelbase. So we have 2 of these washers that go underneath, and then that piece. All right, and so we are using a flathead screw that goes through it. All right, so these sit onto here. And they go through the arms into the carbon fiber. So I believe it depends on which way you have these arms facing. So if you mirrored them pointing forward, it would be longer chassis. And so if you reversed it, it would be the shorter chassis. So I think just by rotating your arms around is where you'd want your chassis to be. I want the shorter one. Right, so I'm going to screw this in with our washers underneath. So I guess it could also be the width of your front end as well. So I'm just going to put both my washers down. And put them over the hole. And then grab a screw to put these in. All right, so if I was to mount this arm here, I believe this one goes on this side, and this one goes on this side. And by the looks of it, it goes to the outer hole first. All right, so I'm going to put both these washers on first with the screws to stick through. And so I believe that is the shorter wheelbase. So I just started to screw a little bit so I can get the next screw in with the washers. All right, I got them snug there. And I believe those are for ride height adjustment. Oh, I think I have these in the wrong spot. All right, I believe those go to the inner hole. And so on here, there's four sets of holes. I believe that the arms attach to the outer holes and depends on the direction that you have these is if it's longer or shorter. And so I think I'm going to reverse this arm around so it would be on the shorter side. All right, still got two washers there and another screw. All right, so now we can put our arms on this side. And we would use the button head screw to put that on as well. All right, that side is done. And now for the other side. All right, two washers. Yeah, on the diagram on the instructions, it only has one hole on these that it really shows. So I just assume that pointing backwards would be the hole that we'd want for the shorter one. Got two of my washers. Put this into the screw on the nearest side. All right, a little bit loose. Grab my next two washers. Put the screw through. Washers on. And line up the screw hole. Start tightening it up. All right, make sure I have it in the right hole. Yep, looks good. Tighten it up. And make sure that they're all tight. And now I can put my arm on with some button head screws. I think these screws are called ULE head. All right. All right. All right. That's fantastic. My arms are now on. And I get to move to the next step, and that is the center brace. I am going to put a center brace on it, and the track I have is medium grip, and I believe this goes to the outer hole with the washers. So um, I have two extra rubbers that I'm going to put into the saving kit, and I greatly appreciate that. So these washers are mounted in with the button head screws. And so the washer goes down first and then um, to these button head screws. All right, and that's just the standard button head screw that goes on there. I believe it's 8 mil. And I'm just going to put that through the end. Um, Pushed it right through. All right, let's try this again. All right, enough to get it started. Now the other side. All right, I have the front brace on and off to the next step. And I get to install my servo. I'll have a Savox servo. It's a bit of an older servo, but it's what I have to work with. Um, I am going to use X-ray um, servo saver that I'm going to put on there. I do have to zero out my servo. But first, before I do that, I will mount it to the chassis. And we are just going to use these screws again, the ULPH, or what is it? ULP head screws. So it only needs two screws to mount it to the blocks. And here's the blocks in this last bag of ours, or one of the last bags for C. And while I'm cutting it open, I will read now this garbage and now mount this to servo. All right. I am going to use 4 screws to mount the servo. I think a stiffer servo mount would be good. All right, now I get to screw this into the chassis with the M36 screws. All right, it is slotted down below for the servo mount. There is 2 positions on the servo mount that you can have. You can have it further ahead or further back. On the directions, it doesn't really show where to have it. So I would assume further ahead would be the best. Right, screws are still loose, but enough that I can move it from side to side. And we'll try to find our best servo positioning. All right, I'm going to guess I should have did this right off the very start as the very first step, because it's kind of hard now to measure the actual perfect distance. I guess I can go from side to side a little bit from inside the hole. So I'm zeroed out or 0.01. So I'm going to measure this. So we are at, I'm just using the actual frame at the very end of it. And I'm at 15.4. And on this side, I'm at 13.4. So I got to move it over a millimeter. 14.3, 13.6. All right, once I take this cap off, it might be giving me false readings, and that goes to the servo saver. Supposed to measure the outside of it. Maybe might be a little easier. Not really, because the arm's in the way. So I still have to go off of the hole. If I do it level, I'm at 15.7. And I have to reverse my caliper the other way. We are at 16.2, 15.2. So I got to move it just a hair to the right. And give it a little tighten so it doesn't move so freely. Fourteen three. How does that work? Yeah. So what I am going to do to make this a little bit easier is put a screw into the center of this and try to remeasure off of the screw. All right. Probably give me a better indication of where the servo is off of the plate. So I am at 17.5. Sixteen four. 69, 16.5. It's so hard to say where it is, but I don't think I can. It looks like it's not dead center, and I can't move it any more to the left. I don't know what else I could do besides change servos. It's pretty close when I look at it. I might have to just make that up the uh, on the steering links. So I'll have to go with that one the way it is. And so I'll tighten it down and run with that. All right. All right. So this, let's give this a bit of a twist. I know that the kingpins are supposed to be backwards, but still kind of binding there. I don't know why. I think I'm trying to give it a pivot, maybe. Still, you can hear that binding. Maybe a bit more forward. Oh, there we go. Now it left. It's moving freely now. I think with some lube that will free up a bit more. Like this one is really nice. Butter smooth. Butter smooth. Yeah, I think I might have to take this one out and do some more polishing on this one. All right, so what we have left is our links, and I'm going to uh, stop and polish this one up, and I will be back.